Hi, everybody. My name is Natalie Ferriozzi, and I am a master's student in the MSDI program at Eastern Illinois University. Today, I'm going to be doing a presentation on nonprofit leadership with an emphasis on Peter Drucker and a book that he wrote, which is called The 5 Most Important Questions You Will Ever Ask About Your Organization. Okay, so just to outline the presentation, first I'm going to talk about Peter Drucker's background, and then I'm going to define the different types of organizations. There are 3 of them. They are nonprofit, for-profit, and the courts. The courts will not have a slide, but I did want to mention a few facts about it because it does relate to nonprofit organizations. Then I will talk about nonprofit leadership and transformational leadership, as well as nonprofit leadership and emotional intelligence. Then we will go into Drucker's self-assessment goals that he talks about in the beginning of the book. And then finally, we will discuss the 5 most important questions, and I will summarize the information for you at the end of the presentation. Okay, so this is Peter Drucker. We've already learned a little bit about him already in class when we read his article on managing oneself, and we got to look into our strengths and weaknesses and learn how to assess those. So this is just going to be a little more information on him. Peter Drucker was born in 1909 in Vienna. He received his doctorate in public and international law after studying in Vienna and England. He has worked as an economist, a professor, a writer, a consultant. He's worked with Sarah Lawrence College, Bennington College, Claremont Graduate University, General Motors Company, the United States, Canadian, and Japanese governments. And towards the end of his career, he began to work with nonprofit organizations such as universities, hospitals, and churches. His specialties and areas of focus are economics, politics, management, organization, policy, philosophy, and leadership strategies. And all his work has led him to receive several honors throughout his life, such as the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which he received from George W. Bush, the Presidential Citation from Claremont Graduate University, which is one of their highest honors, honorary doctorates from numerous universities around the globe, and he was the honorary chairman in the Leader to Leader Institute as well. Drucker had a consistent interest in nonprofit organizations, more specifically their leadership and management techniques, but as mentioned before, he didn't get into it until the end of his career. An explanation of the 3 types of organizations is going to be provided on the next slides, just so we have a full understanding of what exactly a nonprofit organization is and how leadership within a nonprofit organization may be a little different than what we've learned about before. So we're going to start with the for-profit organization. For-profit organizations are owned by individuals or entities who fund the organization. It makes money from the provision of goods or services through transactions with other individuals or organizations. The general mission of a for-profit organization is just to be the best provider to make money for the owners. And the focus is how much money did they make? And then are they going to distribute that to the employees through their paychecks or the owners? Or they may make the decision to invest the money, which will help further the organization. And these are some examples of for-profit organizations. We have Ford, HBO, Walmart, Chipotle, State Farm, and HSHS St. Mary's Hospital, which is the hospital in Decatur, Illinois, where I'm from. Okay, now we have nonprofit organizations, which is what the main focus of the presentation is going to be on. Nonprofits are not owned by an individual or entity. They're actually a defined community asset that's funded by voluntary supporters through donations. They make money through donations, as I just said, and voluntary transactions with other individuals or organizations through the provision of goods or services. The general mission of a nonprofit organization is to create a community or public benefit and also secure funding to continue the organization's purposes. The focus is to voluntarily provide work for the reward of helping others. And it's important to note that employees of nonprofit organizations most of the time do get paid because they have funding of donations and things like that. There is some monetary compensation in most nonprofits, but the main reward is that they're helping others in the community. And these are some examples of nonprofit organizations. We have National Geographic, the American Red Cross, Sarah Bush Lincoln Health System, National Wildlife Federation, Make-A-Wish Foundation, the American Diabetes Association, and Ronald McDonald House Charities as well. And here is where I wanted to mention the third type of organization, which is called the courts. It's just a government entity that provides goods or services and is funded through taxes. And I wanted to mention it because it is similar to nonprofit organizations because the goal of both is to serve the public or community, and they're also owned by the public or community as well. All right, now we're going to dive into nonprofit leadership and briefly discuss how leadership in this setting can be a little bit different than what we may be used to. So, Uzan Wan stated that to keep up with the competitive and rapidly changing economic environment, nonprofit leaders need to have great administrative efficiency, strong entrepreneurial skills, and be accountable. So, nonprofit leaders most of the time obtain some transformational leadership skills, and they can also benefit from having some emotional intelligence skills as well. So, nonprofit organizations can be improved by 8 suggested actions by Francis Hesselbein, who's mentioned in Drucker's book. And he just outlines in these 8 suggested actions that leaders need to be aware of the environment to identify and understand emerging trends that may affect the organization, review the mission to make sure it is correct and up to date, keep leadership fluid and stray away from authority and hierarchy. Don't be afraid to challenge the way things are in regards to policy and tradition. Keep leadership a shared responsibility, lead by example, and assess employee and self-performance. Yukel and Asula and Neig stated that the application of transformational leadership focuses on activities where followers are empowered, independent relationships are created through the delegation of authority, training and skills development are prioritized, and building an environment on support and encouragement is crucial. Now moving into emotional intelligence skills, an article by Hess and Bacigalupo mentioned that nonprofit leaders who are self-aware can assess their personal and organizational strengths, can build and maintain relationships, and can manage conflict well, have the ability to utilize these skills to further the effectiveness of the organization. For many years, nonprofit organizations felt that a good cause alone wasn't enough. Nonprofits don't have a bottom line like for-profit organizations, so it is incredibly important that they are well managed. In Drucker's book titled The 5 Most Important Questions You Will Ever Ask About Your Organization, a self-assessment process is provided that focuses on the fundamentals of what the leader is doing, why the leader is doing it, and what the leader must do to improve the organization's performance. These are Drucker's 5 most important questions. What is our mission? Who is our customer? What does the customer value? What are our results? And what is our plan? What is our mission? Drucker explains that the mission captures the purpose of the organization's existence. It has to encapsulate something that you believe in at a deep and personal level, and everyone in the organization, including leaders, employees, and volunteers, must understand and live the mission. When defining the mission, we must consider the current mission statement, the challenges, opportunities, and whether or not the mission must be revised. For nonprofit organizations, changing lives is usually the core of the mission statement. And this statement should be broad and focus on the future, yet it should be short and concise, centered on the why, not the how, and it should reflect the point where opportunities, competence, and commitment combine. Who is our customer? When identifying customers, we have to ask who the primary customers are, who the supporting customers are, and how these customers change over time. The primary customers are usually the people whose lives will be changed by the work of the organization. Supporting customers are employees, partners, members, etc., who actively contribute to the organization's mission. The primary customer dictates who the supporting customers may be. For example, if your primary customers are single mothers, the supporters of the mission will also care and focus their efforts on single mothers. Because the environment is constantly changing because of demographics, technology, policy, etc., the customers will also change. Getting to know the customers well will help the leader adapt, learn, and change with them. What does the customer value? Getting to know the customer will help the leader understand their needs, wants, and aspirations. Being self-aware enough to understand our own assumptions and interpretations of the customer's behavior and values is essential to understanding the customer's perspective of their own behaviors and values. Being comfortable having an open discussion with them continuously is key. And integrating the customer's values into the organization's plan requires us to be aware of the knowledge gaps within the system and objectively listening and accepting what the customers are telling us they need and want. Their voice is important for all decisions that are going to be made. Supporting customers, which again are the employees or volunteers, also need to be on the same page as the leader for the customer's values to be respected and actively incorporated into the organization's purpose. So this is really a team effort when it comes to leadership in nonprofit organizations. Everyone has a voice and everyone's voice is taken into consideration when it comes to making decisions. What are our results? Success has to be defined and measured differently in a nonprofit organization. By using qualitative and quantitative data, success can be determined. For example, qualitative data may be assessing the impact of an event through observations or patterns, and quantitative data may be statistics of the frequency of sales or the frequency of attendance of an event.
As a leader, we need to be able to enhance what works and discard what doesn't. These results are going to help drive that for us. So, the areas that we are strong in, we need to enhance, and the areas that aren't really getting much good feedback need to just be discarded. Investing is important in nonprofits because resources may be sparse due to donations, so knowing the strengths will help determine what to put resources into and what to discard. The only reason to invest resources is to help the organization produce outstanding results.
And lastly, what is our plan? Self-assessment generates a plan which tells the leader where they want to be and how they intend to get there. The organization's mission, goals, action steps, budget, and appraisal are included in the plan. A good question to shape the plan around is, what does the organization want to be remembered for? And as a leader, and because this is usually a team effort, in a nonprofit organization, there will be a board or a management team. For the plan, the board will focus on the mission, goals, resource allocation, and progress review, where the management team will focus on the objectives, action steps, and driving results. As a leader and a team member, we have to know when to abandon something if it's not necessary, concentrate on something and always set ourselves to higher standards, innovate and constantly be looking out for opportunities and paying attention to emerging issues, knowing when to take a risk or play on the safe side. And all of these things will be able to be assessed through analyzing our results from the last slide, which are generated from those qualitative and quantitative measures. And that should be done frequently because it will help decision making in the end. The plan should be focused, steady on strategy, but flexible in execution. The plan should be accountable, and the people involved in the plan should also be accountable, and it should be reassessed frequently. In Drucker's book, he also mentions 3 general self-assessment goals, which I think complete the information from the 5 most important questions nicely. They are to focus on the mission at all times, make sure the mission is specific and targeted. Listen to your customers because the customer satisfaction is the main focus and is one thing that is going to be measured. And lastly, to set high standards and focus on constructive dissent. Topics discussed in an organization like this oftentimes are difficult and controversial because the people involved care so much about the organization. And Drucker just mentions that as a leader, we can't stray away from difficult conversations like that because they're uncomfortable. At the end of the day, the decisions that come out of those are going to benefit the organization as a whole. All right, and just to summarize, Peter Drucker changed the way management was looked at and applied to organizations. Nonprofit organizations are funded through donations, are a community and public asset, focus on changing individuals' lives, and require specific leadership practices to efficiently operate. Transformational leadership and emotional intelligence play an integral role in leadership within nonprofit organizations. The 3 assessment goals and the 5 most important questions complete the checklist for what it takes to be a leader in a nonprofit setting. And just to go over those 3 assessment goals again, leaders need to focus on the mission, listen to the customers, set high standards, and focus on constructive dissent in order to maintain the plan for a functioning and thriving nonprofit organization.